at the university system. I'm also the Gear Up Georgia project director for the state of Georgia. And welcome to our first Parent University Gear Up Georgia College Transition Series. We are joined by Mr. Brandon Jones of College Readiness 101. He will be facilitating our Parent University sessions. We have 6 of these virtual sessions scheduled for the summer on different topics. We will have 3 additional sessions that will occur in person in the Atlanta area, in the Columbus, Georgia area, and in the Savannah, Georgia area. So we'll share all that information with you all at the end of the workshop. Joining today is Ms. Melissa Gattuso with Gear Up Georgia, as well as Ms. Katie Arias, who is our program coordinator for our Kennesaw State campus. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Brandon Jones. And thank you all so much for being here. If you have not already done so, we're asking that everyone please type the name of your student, as well as the high school they attended and where they're headed to college next year in the chat. It's very important. We would just love to know who's here because we don't always recognize the parents' names as quickly as we do the students. But also just wanted to be able to share the great news. If your student has already figured out where they're going to school next year, we would love to be able to know that. We keep track of that and also helps us plan for the support that we're going to be providing for students in the fall. So we'll share a little bit more about that at the end, but I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Jones. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Cooper. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm excited. We've been putting some plans together for this series, and we are now here for session 1 of this series. A lot of work has gone into it, so I'm very excited to be here. So today, I don't know how many parents we have here today, but I'm excited. And just like Ms. Cooper was saying, we do have a 6-part virtual parent university series that is happening this summer. You will be able to register for these on the link from the Gear Up Georgia team. So today is our first series, our first session of the series. And we're going to be talking about starting the college transition journey. All right. So just a little bit about me. I am authored the College Readiness 101 workbook series. It is currently assisting students around the country on how to prepare for college. Here in Atlanta, I am the executive director of Next Step Education Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, which assists students with college preparation through workshops in the community, college fairs, boot camps, and things of that nature. I also create content. I have a podcast and a YouTube channel, and it's everything college preparation, everything college readiness. And my background is in college admissions, recruitment, and student retention, and Title IX. And so that is a little bit about me, so you know who I am as we continue this series this summer. So the purpose of today's presentation and the entire series as a whole is to provide you with information that will allow you to begin meaningful conversations at home. That's what the whole thing is about. Because everything starts with a conversation, and we want to make sure that you and your soon-to-be college freshmen can make this transition as smoothly as possible. So if you have a pen and pad, if you don't have one, go ahead and get one. If you have one, get ready to take some notes, because we want to make sure that you are better prepared and more informed about what you are going to embark on. So everything is about a conversation. At the end of this, we want to make sure that you can have a conversation at home. So session 1, series 1 is going to be starting the college transition journey. And today we're going to be dissecting where your child is in the college transition process. And then we're going to explore the aspects of your role as it relates to the transition from high school to college. And so throughout this series, we're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time. And so these are going to be the 2 topics that we'll be discussing today. And throughout the presentation, you're going to see this slide. So this is the important conversations or the honesty moment slides. This is where we're going to pause and we can have a conversation. I'm going to ask that you are active in the chat. And I'm going to ask Ms. Cooper or Ms. Melissa, if you would just monitor the chat to see if there's any questions we're gonna make sure that everybody gets as much information as possible. Okay. So, judge-free educational experience. Some of you may have students who are well advanced in this process. They know everything that they're doing, everything's planned out. And others may have students who are not finished with the process or are still planning. And so I want you to know that this is a safe place for you to ask questions. And then myself and the Gear Up Georgia team will be able to be here to assist you throughout this. And so this is a safe space to learn. The whole process is to learn. Okay. All right. As a parent, you are the number one influencer on the trajectory of your child's future. So I always talk with parents. I say how prepared they are depends on how prepared you are. So parents need to be just as, if not more, prepared for this high school to college transition than their child. Right? We want your foot in the bill in some kind of way, and we want to make sure that you are prepared for this transition. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin. So right now, I was speaking with Ms. Cooper. This is for parents of upcoming freshmen in college. And so if everybody is transitioning, everybody now, we're mid-June, should have graduated already, right? And so now you have a child who just recently graduated, and we need to know what's next. Obviously, they may be going to college or some type of post-secondary education institution, but there is a very um, busy time, a busy transition that you're going to be going through this summer. And we want to make sure that you are up to date on a lot of this information. So now that they've graduated, what's next? So important conversation number one, right? You now have a high school graduate. And I always ask students and parents kind of what's the plan next? So what post-secondary options are you and your child considering? You can please be active in the chat. Please be very active throughout this presentation. What type of options are you considering? Is everybody looking at a four-year university, in-state, out-of-state? Some individuals looking at a two-year or technical education? Is military an option for some, or is some considering the workforce and then going back as a non-trad student? What kind of options are the parents considering now? It's kind of one of the first questions I always get a chance to ask. So Ms. Cooper and Ms. Melissa, if there's anybody in the chat, please feel free to just shout out any of the things that they are saying as they are preparing for this next step in life for the child.
Sure. So we asked for everyone, if everyone could just go ahead and put their child's name in the chat, where they graduated from, what high school, and what college that they're headed to next year. I'm going to share some of what has already been shared.
Okay.
So we have Ms. Cohen here. Her child is Devondria Cohen, graduated from Groves High School in Savannah, and she's going to be headed to Albany State, which is
Oh yeah, that's my alma mater. All right, all right.
awesome, wonderful. We also have Miss Reed here. Her son is Jeffrey Reed Jr. He graduated from McNair High School in DeKalb. He'll be attending Clayton State in the fall.
All right, all right.
Year. Also, we have Miss Analco. Her son is Eric Hernandez. He graduated from Cross Keys High School in DeKalb, and he's going to be attending Georgia State University.
Georgia State, all right.
So those are the only three that are in the chat right now. Would love for everyone to please add that. Not only is it important for Mr. Jones to be able to know who's here and what's going on, but it's also our documentation with our grant. We like to be able to know who's here. We also want to try to keep track of the students because everyone has not completed the survey yet. So we still don't know where all the kids are heading. So this information is really important for us, not only for this workshop, but also as we continue to support students throughout the end of their first year of college.
Perfect, perfect. Not a problem. Thank you so much for that. So we have four-year universities, one very special to me at Albany State University. And so now that we have students getting ready to go to a four-year university, let's talk about what that kind of looks like, right? So there are some parents, like I said, where's your child in the process? You got a high school graduate that has everything planned out. You got a high school graduate who's currently still planning. And there are some students who are some parents who have a high school graduate that does not have a current plan yet. We're still trying to figure it out, right? And so from the ones that we heard, it looks like they're going to Albany State. I think we said Georgia State. So we have a couple of different and Clayton State, and we have a couple of different options here for those students. So that's good that they're going to the next level. But you as a parent need to understand where they are in the process, right? And that's what the whole thing about this first conversation is, right? So life after high school, for those who did get a chance, we did get a chance to hear where they were. Looks like they're going to a 4-year university, but there are 2-year post-secondary options as well. There's technical educations, military and armed forces, and workforce, right? So there are options other than 4-year university, but right now we are kind of encouraging and we are assisting students who are wanting to go on to post-secondary education to complete those goals that they have for themselves. And so these are the possible options, and you can intertwine some of them as they continue on. So parents, if you would, while you were preparing this process with your child, you were completing the college preparatory process, they were getting ready in their juniors and senior years, you were going on college visits and college tours. What kind of what kind of characteristics were important to you or still are important to you as your child gets ready to go on to college? I usually ask kind of what are your top 3, but since it's virtual today, I will ask any parent to just kind of say what's something that you are considering when you selected the college with your child, and what's important to you now as they get ready to go off to college. And I'll just ask Ms. Cooper if there's anybody who answers in here. So please
Okay,
just shout
have
it
some
out.
folks who are typing. I could
All
see
right.
they're typing, but as a parent of a 2022 grad, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in there first.
Okay.
We were definitely looking at, she was interested in the HBCU.
Okay.
She played volleyball, so we also were looking at who was offering volleyball scholarship to.
Scholarships. Yeah. Yeah.
And we also looked at the academic support that was available on campus, and the facilities were very important to her as well.
In reference to
The facilities of, so how up to date
okay,
and
the buildings
nice
were.
the
Yep.
buildings, the dorms,
Yep.
mostly the dorm, that was
Okay.
really
That's
important.
usually the big one. That's usually the
Yes,
big one.
and then the food on campus was also something she loves to eat, so.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right, we
Anybody
have some
else?
more in the chat here.
Okay.
Safety was very important.
Crime
That
and
came
safety.
up twice.
Right.
How someone said how many were accepted into grad school, uh, cost, location, and the college community.
Okay.
Academic support, very important for
Very
someone whose
important.
child has dyslexia. So that was important as well. We have career outcomes, customer service, distance from home, HBCU, scholarship options, student
Okay.
support. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
You know what's so funny about that? We're all over it, and that's great. That's exactly what we want. We want there to be multiple considerations when you are going through that selection process. I know that a lot of these parents are those colleges have already selected now, but it's really good. Now it's interesting. I didn't hear you say, Ms. Cooper, tuition and price. I did not hear you say that. And that's
Well,
generally the
because
number
she's
one.
getting a full ride, so
That's
that's
okay.
why. So
That's always the goal, right?
that
That's
was
always the
covered,
goal.
absolutely.
Yeah, but for parents, tuition and price is always a big one as well, right? And so the thing is that as a collaborative process, selecting these colleges with your child, these are some of the characteristics. And I just wanted to hear kind of what the parents were considering while they were getting ready to go. And these are all important characteristics of this process. Okay. All right. So for those parents who have students who are still planning, right? We talk about what's important to the colleges, right? So your academic profile, standardized test scores for a lot of colleges. Others are still test optional or test blind. Extracurricular activities, non-school related and non-school related options. Are there leadership roles that they're playing? Are they doing community service? Recommendation letters and kind of their story, how they articulate themselves on paper. One of the great options now, if you are a parent of a student who's still planning, there are options that are pretty savvy, right? So we can have a technical education, pursuing a technical education through one of the Technical College System of Georgia institutions, and transfer over. That is a very savvy and financially savvy way of pursuing a college education if they're still planning. So these are a couple of different options now. So it's not the end of the road. It's not something that is too big of a hurdle if they don't have a plan right now. We can still get them into a point. We can still get them to a point where they can be successful in post-secondary education. So this slide is just to talk to you about what's important to the colleges. As a former college recruiter, these are the top things that I looked at when I was considering admissions for a student. Okay. And we talked about the reach, target, and safety schools in presentations in the past. And so at this point in time, those students who have selected those colleges, it may be their reach college, it may be their target colleges, it actually may be their safety schools. But if you are still planning, we want to make sure that we at least have a safety school that they would like to attend. And so we can have a discussion about that offline if there's anybody who still has questions about what an option may be for them between myself and the Gear Up Georgia team. Okay. All right. So the parents' role. Let's talk about the parents' role, right? And if you have any questions before, please get in the chat. We'll have a discussion. So if you have questions as we continue to go, please just make yourself active in the chat, and we will continue those conversations. All right. So let's talk about the parents' role in the high school to college transition. Right. This is very important for a lot of parents. They really don't know what to do. For those parents who might have not gone to college, or for those who've been to college and they went to college a long time ago, things are a little different now. And so let's consider what your role is going forward. So let's have an honesty moment. If you are a parent on this call now, so let's talk about how you approach college, right? How did you discuss the concept of life after high school, right? So was it in a positive light? Was it negative? Is it you got to do so you school, military, or work? You got to get out the house. Was it uncertainty? We really don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to figure it out. Was it collaborative? Was there pressure? Kind of back to your conversations at home. Kind of what was the conversation like at your house for the last year or so? You could be active in the chat.
And you can come off mute if you like, parents.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just love to hear what the conversations were like. Or they're still going. So
Are they
someone in
still
the chat
going on?
said a
Right.
positive light, college is an option, but not the only option. Someone else in the chat said that the whole family weighed in.
Well, that's great. That's amazing. Yep.
So there's a few people still typing.
Okay.
Go ahead. I hear you.
Okay, I'm the parent of Autumn Hurt. For some reason, I cannot type in the chat. When I go to it, it's grayed out, so I can't ask any questions. Or I can't type any.
Well, you getting off mute and talking is just perfect.
Okay, so I'm just gonna wait to my question, like as you go through. Then, if I have a question, I'll just have to unmute it and come back in.
Well, can you tell us your child's name and if they've made a decision on where they're going to school next year while you're off mute?
Absolutely. Her name is Autumn Hurd, and she graduated from Mundy's Mill High School, and she is already registered, accepted for Clayton State.
Awesome. Thank you.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Yes.
And one more person in the chat said, my family had a collaborative approach, allowing my son to make his own informed decision.
Now that's how it's supposed to work right there. That's the ideal situation, is where it is a collaborative process, right? So there is some feedback that parents are providing. There are some things that the student is providing in the conversation of what they want the experience to be and kind of what's interesting to them. And then at the end of the day, there is a decision that the student has to make. But
So
what I've
Miss Utonwin has her hand up. I believe she either has a question or wants to comment.
all right, not a problem.
Yes, my daughter's name is Lydia Utowen from Elite Scholars Academy, and she'll be going to Augusta University. And her acceptance, the whole family contributed, but it was with pressure, and we're still kind of up with it. She wants to go to Augusta, but Dad wants to go to University of Georgia State University, but we've settled with Augusta because that is where her career has stationed in.
Right. So you're saying that Dad wanted her to go somewhere else. She settled on Augusta University, and that's where she's going.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
yes, yes.
What I've
And
learned.
Ms. Utonwin, I wanted to say first, congratulations to everybody, but I was at Lydia's graduation, Elite Scholars, and saw her there, so that was excited. And
That's
then Miss
great.
Thank
Franklin has
you.
her hand up. I believe she wants to say something as well. Miss Franklin?
Ms. Franklin?
Hello. Yes, I'm also someone who is unable to type in the chat. It's grayed out for me as well. My daughter's name is Mackenzie Franklin. She graduated from Jonesboro High School. She was accepted at several schools, but the school that we decided to go with was Tennessee State University.
All right.
She decided to break tradition. We are a family. On both sides, her father and myself, as well as grandparents on both sides, all graduates of Southern University, but she's breaking us now out of the SWAC. But we are very proud of her decision. It was a collaborative decision as well. Grandparents were included, also with making that decision, and she's going on academic scholarship. The goal for her is to be able to have a minor in entrepreneurship with a major in business marketing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations to her. I know I'm pretty sure there's a little pressure that she went to Tennessee State. I understand that. Ms. Cooper, is there anybody else who needed to tell you their child's name, what school they graduated from, what college they're going to? I want to make sure that you get as much information on those participants as possible. So if there's anybody else that needs to say it, I want to go ahead and give you time to get that information.
Hi, good
Can
evening. This
you
is
all hear?
Amari LaVille's mom. Hello.
Could you repeat that again?
Hi, I'm Amari LaVille's mom.
Okay, and there's Amari.
Okay. I'm sorry. Amari graduated from Mundy's Mill High School, and he was also in the Gear Up program. He wants to go to Georgia Southern. We haven't received any letters from them just yet, or an acceptance letter. They just said that he needs some more information, but that's the school that he wants to attend to. I actually wanted him to go to a technical school first before he left home, but he's adamant about getting out there and doing his thing. So any help that I can get, any more help to cure my nerves would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. So we're still doing virtual advising over the summer to try to help students with those decisions. I'm going to put our email in the chat. This is for anyone. If you'd like to set up an appointment to speak with anybody on the Gear Up Georgia staff to assist with anything your child is doing this summer, please send us an email and we would love to talk with you. So I'm going to put it in the chat right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Is there
Hello,
anybody
can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hello,
Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Miss Miller. My daughter's name is Yelena Broadhead, and she was accepted at Spelman. And I was wondering if you could just call out the email because I'm only audio. I can't get on.
Sure. So it is Gear Up Georgia, GEARUP Georgia, no spaces, at usg.edu.
Gear Up Georgia
Mm-hmm.
at usg.edu.
At usg.edu. Okay. All right.
All right. Mr. Jones?
And I came in a little late, so can you give me your name?
Sure. My name is Dawn Cooper. I'm the Gear Up Georgia Project Director. Mr. Brandon Jones is facilitating the workshop. It is being recorded, so we are going to share the link with everyone who registered to attend to the YouTube recording. So if you missed anything, you can go back and take a peek at it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, all right. So it sounds like everybody's got in, and we got the information to Ms. Cooper. And I'm so glad that some of the parents got a chance to share kind of how they approached the college preparation and college selection process in their household. So that's really, really good that we had that conversation. So, as a parent of a transitioning high school to college student, you have three roles. So, you have three things that you're responsible for, right? Number one, you need to create organization in your household and with your child as they prepare for college. Number two is to encourage self advocacy. And number three is to support decisions, right? So now that your child is a graduate, these are the things that you need to do. These are the three buckets that your role will fall into. So let's go ahead and look at those. So it's important for parents to keep their child organized. And let me tell you why. Many students need assistance with organization and prioritization. Still, as high school graduates, some of your students will still need assistance with this. And as a college recruiter and an admissions counselor, I cannot tell you how many students missed out on the opportunity to attend and enroll into a college because they did not complete their academic or admissions file after being accepted, right? And so we have to make sure that you continue the process. Acceptance is only the start. And so we want to make sure that you have gotten everything organized with your child, right? Setting expectations around organization will also assist them beyond this transition. And so, as a college student, they will need to prioritize their time, especially if they're going to be a student athlete or be very involved on campus. And so, organizational skills is very important. And then, many students miss out on opportunities from a lack of information due to not being organized. And so, when they get on campus, they'll have a to-do list of things that they need to do. They'll have a to-do list prior to getting to campus as well. And so, because somebody may have lost that paper or did not check their email or they missed out on opportunities. And sometimes those mistakes are very expensive, right? And so we want to make sure that you with your child can stay organized throughout this transition this summer. Is very important. There's going to be a lot of information coming your way, and we want to make sure that you stay organized as you receive it. Okay. Number two, why you should let them fight some of their own battles, right? In working in student affairs, what I've learned is that self advocacy is the number one skill set that students need to master. Okay. This is something that is um, paramount to their success, right? I remember when I got to college, my college roommate, he didn't know how to wash his clothes, right? And so I'm the one that ended up washing his clothes. His mom always washed his clothes. But I just remember I was the one that showed him how to wash his clothes. I was the one to show him how to do a lot of other things. He just did not, his mom didn't make him do it, when he was younger. And that's fine until he's in a position where he has to do it himself and does not know. So I say students will need to learn how to survive without their parents, right? The example that I give is don't let your child be the captive animal that they have to set free in the wild, right? You cannot survive if you've been spoon fed all of your life. And so in student affairs, I've learned, speaking with students, if they're a parent, we call them helicopter parents, lawnmower parents as well. Those parents who are trying to get everything out of their way so that they have a smooth process, or those parents that try to answer the questions for them, or those parents that are just looking to make sure that nothing happens to them, can be a crutch to those students while when they have to kind of figure things out on their own. And so I want to preach self-advocacy to you for your child. But sometimes you have to advocate for your child as well. Sometimes when it's needed. But there is a lesson to learn in having to fight your own battles, having to get information for yourself, having to figure things out that will last them a lifetime. And so, as a parent, I'm going to definitely encourage you to kind of do things to help them advocate for themselves as they transition through this process and when they get to college. Okay. Number 3, support decisions, right? So students need support as they navigate this process. They're becoming an adult. And so they're going to need some support throughout this process. And so they need physical and emotional support, right? And you have to be mindful of how you discuss topics, right? So we talk about these micro messages, and how you approach and discuss topics will affect how they experience it or their feelings for it, right? Or feelings about it. And so we want to make sure that you're mindful about how you do those things, how you discuss those things. Um, and again, I'm going to say it again. I preach self-advocacy, but don't be afraid to support them and advocate for them when they need it. So just be mindful about how you are approaching these things and support decisions. Some of these decisions you might not like. Some of these decisions are going to be compromises for you and what you would consider or what you would want for them. But there are some really good lessons when they make decisions and it works, and when they make decisions and it doesn't work. Though there are lessons in both. Okay. So hopefully, I talk about this in my college preparation um, curriculum, but I also want to talk about it with you as you're transitioning. I always tell students to meet me at the intersection of match and fit. And so I'm hoping that um, the schools that your children and you have selected for them is at this intersection, right? A college that a student will want to attend based on the admissions requirements and it aligns with their academic profile. We talked about reach and target and safety schools, and there could be a reach, a target, and safety schools for different students. It would be different, right? So Emory University could be a reach school for one student, and it could be a safety school for another, right? And we want to make sure that you are picking a college that matches them with what their skill set is, right? But you also want to pick a college based on what they want their college experience to be, and that's the ideal fit, right? Is finding a college. So I heard Ms. Cooper say that her daughter wanted to go to an HBCU, right? If that's the experience that she wants, that's the fit side of it, right? But does the school that she chose match with her academic profile? Is it going to challenge her? Is it going to be too rigorous? Is it not rigorous enough? So we want to make sure that you are choosing a college with your child that's a good fit for them, right? The reason being is because non-compatibility or a school that's not compatible for them will increase, transfer rates. It will, decrease retention rates. It will be costly in other ways. And so we want to make sure we are finding out how to do that. And so your child does not belong to every college, right? We want to find a college that best fits them so that they can have a good experience and they can set themselves up for success in the future, right? So this is a conversation you should have with them as they're transitioning. What do they want their college experience to be? Let's talk about decision making. Let's talk about all of these things as you get ready to prepare. And here's the non-compatibility I was talking about, right? Lower graduation rates, lower retention rates, increased transfer rates, wasted time and money, and an overall negative experience for some students just because they chose the wrong school, right? And so this picture just kind of is a diagram of what the different students are like. All of these are different students. And we want to make sure that we find a college, excuse me, that fits them, that fits them. Ms. Cooper, before we go on, are there any questions or comments in the chat? I want to make sure that we get to those if there are some.
There are none in the chat so far, but if anyone who is not able to access the chat, if you want to come off mute, if you have any questions so far. All right, I think we're good to go.
I think we're good. All right. Here's a very important conversation you should be having this summer as a parent, right? It is very important that you have a rubber meets the road moment, rubber meets the road conversation with your child, right? At some point in time, we want to make sure that you level with your child, right? So it is important that your child understands where your limitations are as it relates to the college preparation and college transition process, right? So they need to know that you may not know everything, right? And you're figuring it out with them. They need to know if you do or do not have the ability to fund their education. Hopefully, these conversations have already happened, but if not, I encourage you to have these conversations this weekend because a lot of students, as they prepare for college, think that their parents have some type of nest egg set aside that they don't know about for their college education. And in most cases, there is not. I thought my mom had set aside some money for my college education, and there was no money to be found, right? Had there been a conversation earlier, maybe I would have put more money aside when I had my part time job. Or maybe I would have applied for more scholarships. Or maybe I would have done more things to help my parents pay for my college education, right? They need to know if you have a network that can assist them in this college preparatory and college transition process or when they get to college. You know, so funny in the community, they say, you know, your cousin's at that college, or you know, you got an aunt or my friends down there in that city. And now they have somebody who can assist them while they're there. They need to know these things, right? They need to know about your ability to provide resources, right? If you aren't going to be able to give them care packages once a month, or you're not going to be able to send them money once a month, maybe they need to start looking at becoming an RA or getting a work study job, or. But the point is that there needs to be a honest and upfront conversation so that when they get to inevitably harder times or when they get to something where they need something, they're better prepared for it, right? And so I encourage you to have these conversations when you get home. Here are some of the academic conversations you need to have. Starting strong academically during their freshman year. This is just like high school, right? If they start strong academically, they will have a cushion for when they get to those harder classes. And we want to make sure that we replicate how they did it in high school, specifically if they did it right, right? Let's give them a cushion. Number two, let's have a conversation about how they are to build a rapport with their instructors and academic staff. I know college professors, and I know that they are more apt to help students who they have built a rapport with or who they speak with on a regular basis, right? And so they need to work on making sure the instructor knows who they are, taking advantage of um, office hour opportunities, tutorial opportunities. They need to build relationships while they're on campus, specifically with decision makers and those individuals who are tasked with instructing them. Okay. Number three, the effects of satisfactory academic progress, academic probation, and suspension. So there is a financial and monetary correlation between passing a class and failing a class or withdrawing from a class. And so we want to make sure that your child is passing classes at a rate that is higher than satisfactory academic progress. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is that there is a way to flunk out of college. There is a way where the federal government will no longer pay you or provide loan money or provide Pell Grant money for you if you are not performing academically. And so we want to make sure that your child is passing their classes, and they are not failing, or they are not withdrawing from too many classes. It will affect them financially. Okay. And the last one I want to make sure we have an academic conversation about is going to class, right? So all of the students are going to be very excited about this newfound freedom. They may or may not go to an 8 a.m. class. They may not want to go to a 2 p.m. class when everybody else is on the yard or on the campus hanging out. But remember, they already paid for it. You already paid for it. So it's almost like paying for your groceries and leaving them at the register, right? When they're not going to class, you've already paid for it. And so, excuse me, there should be a conversation about going to class. And although we think there is a lot of freedom in not, in class and what you can and can't do, a lot of colleges still do have a requirement for attendance. So these are some conversations academically that you can have at home as they get ready to prepare to be on campus. A couple of social conversations, parents, you need to have is talking about adversity and adjusting to college and persistence, right? Through hard times. And so it is very important that you understand that your child will get homesick at some point in time, and you may miss them a whole lot. We'll talk about that in the social and emotional awareness session, but there are conversations that you need to have to help prepare them mentally as they get ready to go to college and foreshadow some of the things that they may experience, right? Number two, decision making and surroundings. So I always talk to students and parents about the importance of making good decisions when you are away. I know that's on your heart as your child is getting ready to go. Um, we want to make sure that they continue to make good decisions. There are a lot of students who will not make it beyond their freshman and sophomore year, sometimes due to their decision making. And so continue to have conversations about being aware of their surroundings on campus, off campus, and making the right decisions. All right. We want to talk about getting involved in extracurricular activities. So these are all when involved students are getting involved with student government, Greek letter organizations, intramural sports. If they're a student athlete, if they're getting involved in the band, if they're getting involved with all types of clubs. What that does, it does two things. One, it decreases their idle time, but it also gives them new experiences that they could use later on in life. And so I encourage all students to get involved in something while they are in college. It will help them prepare for career. It will help them understand time management. It will help them understand the importance of prioritizing your schoolwork versus balancing it with your social life. There's something to be said about getting involved. And so I'm going to encourage you to encourage your child to get involved when they get on campus. And the last one, you have to have a conversation about alcohol, drugs, and sex. As a Title IX investigator, that is, I investigate sexual harassment, sexual assault, sex discrimination complaints on college campuses. And so these are things that you have to be mindful of, and they need to be prepared for, because when they're away, now they may have access to these things that they may not have had access to before, or they can make bad decisions that they generally might not have made when before. So you have to have a conversation about alcohol, drugs, and sex before they get to campus, before decisions could have a bigger impact once they get on campus. Ms. Cooper, were there any questions about this or any discussions in the chat? If not, parents, you can unmute yourselves, and if there's a topic that you wanted to discuss, you can add that. But if not, we'll continue on.
I'd just be curious to know if anyone is having these types of discussions so far with their students,
Yeah.
and how's it going? How is the discussion going? If you feel anything pertinent to share that may help another parent. Okay, someone said all of them. Yes. Very important that we
And
have all of these.
I think I
hello,
heard
can you hear
somebody.
me?
Yes.
All right, yep, go ahead.
Yes, this is Zion Max mom. Yes, I had those conversations with my son. Are you all doing this one for students as well? Because the first slides or two you showed in regards to being organized and just all those type of things right there for a lot of kids. Because due to these last 2 years with COVID, it didn't really allow children a lot of time to really get organized because a lot of kids were either learning from
Mhm.
home or they were, some schools open, some schools didn't open. So it's just been a lot, and with my son, I speak to him about all these things. I always have because I'm a school social worker. So I have to deal with this on a regular basis. My biggest thing is just really to be honest with you, is sending my black male off to school right now at this time with just everything going on, whether it's a HBCU, PWI, whatever.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm going to address your first question. We will be having some workshops this summer for students. I will say that the workshops that we did last summer, I think that they was too much, they were too long, and then we were trying to pile too much into one session. So we will be doing some workshops this summer based on some feedback that we've been getting. And so when I'm hearing from you, is that maybe an organization workshop for the students this summer would be helpful and receptive?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because definitely when the young man was saying that about checking emails, checking texts, that's the biggest thing that I stay on my son about is clean out that email and clean out them texts. You don't need it, delete it, and start your most important things that you don't have an opportunity to look at to go back to.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for that. There's
I would
another
like to
comment in the
say,
chat. Oh, go ahead.
okay, with organization, like I told my daughter, which is, I'm glad she's up and doing with it, you get a calendar. So on each calendar, there's certain things she has to write. Like I told her, okay, this, like coming up now, preparing for going back to school, get your calendar. We're going to call the housing. We're going to call the financial aid. All these are all in the calendar. Which day, the phone numbers are all lined out. I'm all on it with her. And I'm glad she also has siblings that we also organize. So when you get this calendar, get the phone numbers out, the people you need to contact, like the housing, financial aid, just so many things like that, roommates, who to call. When you have those on the calendar, then you'll be able to check off each list. When are you going back to school? When it is break time? So such things also helps to get the student to have a calendar and check with them as the each item is being done. So I think it's a great thing with that calendar to have.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that because I would say I wanted students to get organized anyway before COVID. Just period. Kids need to be organized so that they can successfully navigate their first year of college, right? Um, Especially those students who are graduating with their last couple of years uh, through COVID, right? In homeschool or a virtual school or whatever they did in these last couple of years is definitely going to have an impact on the culture shock or the or an impact it's going to have on them when they get to a college campus. They just have not been in that type of environment, and so I was talking to one of my colleagues. She said, my sophomores are still eighth graders, and it was just interesting to hear her say, they're not there. They didn't have the time that kids before them and kids after them had. They were just at home through COVID, and so that also is going to play a role in how prepared they are. And so I'm so glad that y'all are talking about the importance of being organized. That's very important. So thank you for that.
We have two more comments in the chat.
Okay.
Actually, three. So the first one is that conversations are happening, and they feel like he's listening, even though he's not always responsive. So definitely understand that. I always feel
Right.
like keep talking to them. The light bulb might not come on right away, but it will at some point if we keep talking to them. So that's great. Also, another comment, not sure if all the colleges are the same, but I'm on the same email notification system as her daughter is at Clemson. When she gets an email, I do as well, and
Oh,
she can
that's
follow up
interesting.
with her. And she says she believed that North Carolina A&T does the same. And then we have one more comment who is a parent and a teacher, says they teach at Mount Zion, and she agrees that they are mentally behind.
Right. That is so interesting. That's interesting that the parents are getting the same email or a version of the email that the students are getting. That's very. I can tell you right now, all colleges are not doing that. But that is very interesting and I think that is um, a good way to combat some of that. They're not mentally there. They're not mentally prepared, or they're not um, whatever mentally, because of COVID. I think that's a good way to combat that for the colleges. So kudos to Clemson for doing that. So that's really cool. So all right. So these are some of the social conversations you need to be having. It sounds like some of you are already having these conversations. If you are not, I want to encourage you to go ahead and begin because you only have about another 6 weeks, 7 weeks before you are putting them out to live on their own. So a couple of activities that you should be tackling this summer, right? And this is the first one is exactly what I'm talking about, submitting all outstanding supporting documents. This is where a lot of students mess up. So if you can get on top of this, you will put yourself in a good position for success. So because you were accepted does not mean you are going to that college, right? So we want to make sure that if they were accepted and they're beginning the process of enrolling, right, getting all of the supporting documents that they had to get in, making sure that housing was covered, all of that, you still have other academic things that you have to do. So we want to make sure that you are providing all outstanding supporting documents that are needed. Okay. You definitely want to make sure you and your child register to attend a freshman orientation. Colleges are offering them in multiple formats. Could be a face-to-face 1 day or half day, could be a face-to-face multi-day, could be online, virtual. It could be video, just video. So we want to make sure that you are attending that freshman orientation. That is the most important information gathering activity that you will have. Okay. You want to connect encourage your child to connect with their roommate to discuss housing, right? So right now, I know a lot of students are connecting with their roommates on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook. So I have interviewed a couple of students, and they connected with each other on social media, right? Or through the college's portal, right? We want to make sure that there is a connection there. If they know the person, and you say, hey, you know what, you might be a roommate together because you know them. That is not always the best thing, right? So in a lot of cases, it's good because they're familiar with that person. But in some cases, I have seen bad experiences with students who are rooming with somebody they thought they knew, right? You want to make sure you register for your classes as soon as possible. So classes fill up, right? So as soon as you are cleared, or the college opens up enrollment for classes, you want to make sure that your child is one of the first ones that is registering either with themselves or with their academic advisor. It's very important that freshmen get the classes that they need, and those are usually the classes that fill up the fastest. Okay. You want to get organized for the dorm room move-in day, right? And so there is a dorm. Some of your students will be getting a dorm room move-in organizer, and so the whole thing is we want to make sure that they have everything that they need. You need to know where the closest Walmart and where the closest Target is. You want to make sure that you have the list that the housing department has provided of everything that they need. You need to know if they can or cannot bring their car. If they can't bring their car, you need to find, who they need to network or find somebody down there who would be able to assist them should they need a ride somewhere. These are all important aspects of the first year and the move-in day. We want to make sure that there is a lot of information that you have and a lot of items that you may not think that they need that they really do need. Um, if there are any outstanding tuition or other payments that need to be made, make sure that you do that. There could be a hold that is placed on the account because there is an outstanding balance where you can't register for classes or you can't do this or you can't do that. So you want to make sure you stay on top of the payments or the required fees that you need to pay to the college. And once they get to college, we want to make sure they continue to apply for scholarships and other funding, right? Because you got there and you may have gotten a scholarship or several scholarships for your first year. Um, we want to make sure that you can potentially have opportunities to fund your child's college education outside of your pocket, right? So they need to visit the financial aid department, see if there's any scholarship that went unclaimed. We want to make sure you continue to search for scholarships for college students, college freshmen, college sophomores, in preparation for the next year. We want to look at work study jobs. We want to look at other opportunities to fund a college education. But we definitely want to try to get it at the lowest price point out of pocket as possible. Are there any questions or comments about some of the things that you need to tackle this summer?
So Miss Lloyd has her hand up. You have a question, Miss Lloyd?
Yes, I just want, good evening. I want a little more insight about freshman orientation. I know we talked about in the previous slide some of the must-have conversations. And I also know that sometimes our students don't get it until they hear it from someone other than us, even though we feel like we've drilled some of these things into them. And I'm mostly concerned about just the overuse of technology and how those distractions are hindering the organization and sometimes even prioritization. So will they get any of that from freshman orientation experience?
Now, the freshman orientation experience is going to be up to that institution. Okay. So I just want the point I wanted to make was that this is something that you don't want to miss, and in most cases you can't miss because it's mandatory, right? They will be talking about the ins and outs of what the students would need to know as they prepare to get on campus. They will discuss generally academic topics, as in registering for classes, who your academic advisor is going to be, if they're entering into a specific program. Some colleges will have programmatic advisors. They'll be talking about those college one-on-one type topics. I'm not sure if they will be discussing, the technology. Well, there will be if the college has an app or their banner web where classes and their academic profiles, virtual academic profile is going to be held. They'll be talking about those things, but I don't know if they'll be talking about organization and social media and things like that at the orientation. I don't know if that would be a topic, but it will kind of be a crash course for what they need to know when they get as they prepare come on campus and then when they get to campus.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And again, that format for each college may change. Some will do it in a multi-day thing. Some will do it on a half a day or a full day. Some will be virtual. So we just got to figure out what your college, and there should be multiple options for you to choose from in reference to the days that you can go, or they'll have multiple ones.
Yeah, we're registered. We're already preparing to go.
All right, perfect, perfect, perfect. That is, I think, outside of the college visit, when you're touring the college, that will be the single most information gathering opportunity that you will have. So I would suggest that you take a list of questions that you need answered. I want to make sure that you take those so you can get those answers. Go around to the different departments that you need to go to and get those answers while you are there, because there may be some opportunities that just you just stumble upon because you were in the right place asking the right questions. So definitely take a list of questions down when you go.
I have a question about the scholarships, going to the financial aid office to see if there were any unclaimed scholarships. How
Yes.
how many weeks after the semester has started are you going to be able to do that?
Immediately, I would suggest while you are still in the ad drop period. So ad drop is generally you have 3 days. Some colleges may give you up to 5, but generally you have 3 days from when classes begin, where you can add new classes or drop the classes that you have is without financial penalty, right? So what will happen is once everybody is enrolled and they close enrollment, I would suggest that your child immediately continues to look for scholarships, institutional
Okay.
scholarships at that college, and
Mhm.
non-institutional scholarships that are in at the bank, at a business, at a nonprofit, um, civic organizations. We want to make you continue to look for that, because what students and families, and what, I guess, how can I say this? A general experience, a common experience that students and parents have is that they will apply for a few scholarships while they are, seniors in high school. They may get one or two, or they may get like a big scholarship that's a 1 year, a one-time scholarship, which looks really good for them, and it bodes well financially for them for their freshman year. And
Yeah.
then they are set for a financial burden for their sophomore, junior, and senior years if they don't get a job or don't get work study, they don't become an RA, a lot of things that, other ways to get money. And that's where a lot of the loan money comes from as well, is, after that freshman year for some students. And so I just want to make sure that they are continuing this process of trying to find ways to fund their college education. It's not just as an incoming freshman, is the point I'm trying to make.
Right. I told her that too. I was trying to get her to apply for scholarships ever since ninth grade, but she didn't. So now, we have a lack of funds. But I also didn't understand why the Zell Miller scholarship doesn't cover the full tuition at a HBCU. It
Now,
would if she was going to a state university, which I don't think that's right, because a college, a university is a university.
well, how a university is set up could have implications on how funding is allocated. So, I would say this: I'm going to have a financial aid representative. I know Ms. Cooper talked about some other opportunities as well. For our second session, we are going to be talking about financial aid through this transition. And so I think that would be, I'm going to have a financial aid representative come for that one and kind of give the ins and outs of how to wrap this financial aid process up. And we can start talking about um, finishing the awards and all of that for those who have not yet. So that would be the best session to have that topic discussed.
And Mr. Jones, I did just want to add really quickly that the 3 public HBCUs, the full tuition is covered for Zell. If their child is attending a public HBCU in Georgia, any public college in Georgia, with the university system, Zell will cover it. Zell does not cover full tuition for the private HBCU. So that's the difference there. So there's not a distinction with the HBCUs. It's a distinction between public and private colleges.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that's why I was saying, based on how the college is set up, I'm specifically talking about private and public, allocation of funds will be different. And so thank you so much, Ms. Cooper, for kind of shedding a light on that as well. Are there any other questions or discussions in the chat?
Not in the chat, but Ms. Lloyd, your hand, is it still up from the previous question? Did you have another question?
I apologize. I'm lowering my hand now.
That's okay. Just want to make sure we weren't missing you.
We want to make sure you get your questions answered, okay? But here's another honesty moment. So parents, you know your child. You know what they're good at. You know where their weaknesses are. So there should be a conversation this summer about those strengths and weaknesses, and see how that aligns for your plan for them. So let me give you an example. There's something called will and skill, right? I'll make it an analogy. So if your child is not good in chemistry, and they don't want to do things necessary to increase their skill set in chemistry, i.e., going to tutorial sessions, going to office hours, doing extra work on their own. A lot of times we got YouTube University now. If they're not willing to do those things, then they probably should not major in pharmacy. You understand what I'm saying? There needs to be a conversation about their strengths and weaknesses, and an honest and open conversation about how that may affect their trajectory and where they're going, and the decisions that they are currently making. So the point I'm trying to make is that you know them, you've been with them all their lives, and we need to make sure that they have a good understanding of who they are, and how who they are will affect their success in certain aspects of their college experience. So I'm going to ask a parent, if you would raise your hand or sit in the chat. Is there something that you know about your child that you want to make sure that for them to be successful, they are doing something or they are not doing something, right? So is there anything that you know about your child? I want to try to see if there's any examples from the parents that could be an open and honest conversation that you will have, that you've already had, or that you are currently having about how they can be successful in certain aspects of their college experience.
So Ms. Weiss has her hand up. I didn't know if it was a previous question or if she wanted to respond to your comment.
Well, good evening, everyone. I had a previous question, but I guess it could kind of sort of go along with the current question.
Okay.
Right now, as far as my son name is Jabril, and he graduated from Miller Grove High School in DeKalb County. It was a challenging experience because Jabril has a learning disability. Okay. However, if you were to meet him, you would not know that. There was never a question whether or not he was going to graduate from high school, and he graduated with a pretty decent GPA because, well, I'm not going to say decent, we barely made it to 3.0, but that was good considering what we were working with.
Okay.
So it's challenging because Jabril wants to go to a four-year institution because his friends are. However, Jabril has an IEP, and like I said, there was never a question whether or not he's going to graduate because I was a very involved parent academically. In high school, you have Remind and you get all the emails and text messages, but in college, you don't get those things regarding assignments and meetings. So I'm going to say I chose because Jabril wanted to go to Kennesaw, but I'm like, Jabril, we need to start small. So he's going to Georgia State Perimeter grudgingly. I guess I'm looking for confirmation that I'm doing the right thing because I won't be able to help him as much at a bigger school. I want to make sure Jabril advocates for himself. He doesn't speak up for himself. So that's the answer. He doesn't speak up. He needs to know that he needs to attend the writing lab. It's okay. It's okay to go to the math lab. It's okay to ask your teacher for help. So he doesn't speak up, but when he does, his teachers love him and they help him when he speaks up. But if he doesn't speak up, then he just falls between the cracks. Does that make sense?
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
So my question is, he has an IEP. What do I do with that at freshman orientation?
Perfect. That is a really good answer. Excuse me, a really good question. And you might not be the only parent who has a child with an IEP. First thing you need to know is that information regarding a IEP or a disability does not follow you, or does not follow him, excuse me, him from high school to college. Okay.
That's right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you will need, when you get to the orientation, you will need to find the disability services coordinator, the special populations coordinator, whatever they're calling it, is going to be housed in student affairs. And the disability services coordinator, you will have to self-disclose that, I say you, but he will have to self-disclose that he has an IEP or a disability, or whatever the situation is. Now, it's fairly mandated that each college has to have somebody who does this work. Okay. So when you get to Georgia State's perimeter campus, you'll go to the student affairs department. You will find whoever is over disability services, and you will have a meeting with them. They will call it an intake, and you will self-disclose what the IEP is. They may ask you to provide some paperwork regarding it, and then they will set up accommodations for him. All right. So accommodations, depending on the student, it could be anything. It could be he needs to take a test with a longer time period or no time period. Depending on some disabilities, maybe he'll get a screen. A student could get a screen where it blows up the letters, right, so they can read better. So some disabilities is, there's a pen now that you can write and it reads out the words. Whatever the disability is, whatever accommodations that can come with it, it will come from the disability service department. But the thing I want you to understand is that it doesn't follow just because he has an IEP plan or accommodations in high school. It does not automatically transfer. It does not follow him once he gets to a college campus. There has to be a meeting with somebody on campus, i.e. the disability services coordinator, whatever title that they're called, but it's that role. That's the person that you're going to need to speak with when you get to the orientation.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that information. I really do, because I didn't get that at the last. I'm not even going to get into it, but I appreciate you giving me that information because I knew it did not follow him, but I was doing all the legwork and research myself, which is why I'm glad I logged onto this meeting because you gave me information that I did not know. So thank you.
Not a problem at all.
I
That's what this is
also
for.
want to add,
Parent University.
Mr. Jones, that
Yes,
we
ma'am.
did a workshop specifically for students and the accommodations that they may need on the college campus. It's on our YouTube page. So I'm going to put the link for that presentation, that workshop that we did in the chat. And I also put the link in the chat for the Georgia State University Access and Accommodation Center as well, Ms. Weiss.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. And that, Ms. Cooper, that's exactly what I had in mind. But I want parents to get exactly what it is that they need, right? Ask the questions, they find out the information, and it helps them along the way, right? And so hopefully we can shorten the learning curve for these parents who are going to be participating in this series. So thank you so much, Ms. Weiss. I hope that it helps you out a lot.
Thank you. It does.
All right. All right. So what I want to do is I want to share with you the 6-part virtual parent university series. And so we just did session 1. We will go on to session 2. Is going to be on June the 23rd. That's actually next week. We're going to be talking about financial aid 101 for the high school to college transition. And so we'll be discussing wrapping up your financial aid documents. We'll be talking about applying for more scholarships when they get to campus. We'll be talking about any questions you have about Hope or Zell Miller or this or that. And so that's kind of going to be a really good session for those parents who are needing that. But we're going to continue it all summer. So on July 14th, we'll have the social and emotional awareness session. On July 28th, we will have the college student financial literacy session. And I'm going to be talking about common college money mistakes and what we can do to kind of avoid financial pitfalls when they are on the college campus for you and them. Session 5 is the talk. We're going to be talking about sex, drugs, and alcohol, and we're going to be talking about decision making and some of the things that I've noticed when I'm doing investigations and what parents need to know socially as they get onto the college campus. And then our last session on August 25th is going to be about the first year experience. It's just culminating in what parents need to know as they let their child off to kind of spread their wings. And so below at the bottom left, you will see a QR code. This QR code will take you to Gear Up Georgia's registration link for the series. And so if you are on your computer, then you can scan it. If you are on your phone, you can't scan it on your phone. I know that the Gear Up team and Ms. Cooper will be sending that out to everybody who registered today and to those who weren't able to make it. And so this is going to be the series. This is the virtual series for this summer. We have 3 face-to-face sessions, but I want to make sure that you know about the 6-part virtual parent university. Let me know, Ms. Cooper, if there's any questions that you are seeing in the chat, or if there's anybody who's raising their hand. I want to make sure that you get your questions answered. And I'm going to ask you if you learned something today, if we were able to help you get over any type of hurdles. That's going to be very important.
So Ms. Newton says, oh my gosh, thank you. That is where we are right now. So I'm guessing that she's talking about the financial aid 101 session coming up. So I'm glad that that's going to work for you all. Yes, she said yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Perfect.
And I did have a few things I wanted to share with them as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Ms. Cooper.
So I'm gonna grab the screen really quickly, just very quickly. Let's see if I can.
Y'all ready?
Actually, try this again. Sometimes Teams is friendly with the screen share and sometimes not so much. All right, here we go. So, so just to piggyback on what you said, that's the series, the virtual ones as well. I also wanted to share, so hopefully you all can join us. with the QR code that was provided. You can also go to the Gear Up Georgia /calendar, and you can sign up for any of these. It's still one registration link, so you can go to and sign up for all of them if you like, or just one of them. Totally up to you. Try to make that as easy as possible. These are the in-person sessions. We will be providing food for you at the in-person session. So there's 3 of them here. And you can register for those on the Gear Up website as well. So please make sure that you, if you're able to attend any of those in person, you are all welcome to do so for the Gear Up Georgia parents. Also, if you have not already completed our survey, it is very, very important that you do that, you and your student. There's 2 things that we get from that survey. For one, it tells us where the students are headed next year. We really want to get it down as close to a science as possible where the students are headed, because as you all know, Gear Up Georgia is committed to following your child all the way through the end of their first year of college. And in order for us to do that, we have to know where they're going. So we did a survey. We're getting some information from some of the schools. We're also getting some reports from the colleges as well, but we won't get those college reports until October. And we don't want to wait until October to start making sure that we know where the students are so that we can continue to give them the support that we are going to do so. So if you have not done so, please complete the survey. If your child has not done so, please ask them to complete the survey. It's on our homepage at gearupgeorgia.org. And you see down here on the bottom, on the left, this is the parent, and this is the student. It also gives us some feedback about the services that we've been providing. What has worked for your child, what has not, and also what do you think will be helpful in the upcoming year while they're in college. So this is a time for us to hear your voice, get your feedback. What help do you need? What help does your child need? That is the best way for us to make sure that it's targeted based on what you need. Additionally, these are some of the services that we are still providing and will be providing in the fall. So in the summer, if your child has a required campus college transition event where they're saying in order for them to enroll, they have to attend this session, take these classes, they have to come for this amount of time, and it's going to cost you this amount of money. So we can provide some support for those things through Gear Up, that we are funded to provide transition support. So all you have to do is send us an email with the information on the event. Let us know how much it is. And if they are a Gear Up student, we can provide support for that as long as funds are still available for us to do so. Also, we'll be doing these parents and student workshops as well. We have virtual advising appointments for parents and students that we're doing all summer long. We're making calls. Actually, some of you may have been receiving the calls. They're just checking in to see what it is that you all need. But as you know, we have over 6,000 students, and we have a staff of probably about 10 people who are making those calls. So if you haven't gotten to you and you need some help, send us an email at gearupgeorgia@usg.edu, and we will set up an appointment to talk to you. All right. They can still have a mentor with Student Success Agency. Some of your students already have that. They can still continue to use that. Tutor.com is available for anyone who's in summer school. You can do virtual office hours with the Scholarship Academy. So again, I heard a lot of people talk about they still need scholarships. There's still scholarships available, and there's still scholarships that are going to be available when they're in college. And we are paying for this service with Scholarship Academy. So please make sure you all take advantage of that resource. You will all be mailed a college transition survival kit, which will have a lot of things that we discussed today. There'll be a planner in there. There will also be a dorm move-in kit. A lot of the tips that we're discussing tonight, as well as the other sessions. So we're going to be mailing that out. We had to wait until the district provided us with the final upload so that we have everybody's current mailing address, because the mailing addresses that we have are from the beginning of the year. And we know a lot of people have moved. So if you have not provided an updated mailing address to your district and you have moved, you can send us your mailing address at gearupgeorgia@usg.edu so that we can make sure that we are sending it to the right address. It will be for the student, but it will have lots of great information in there. We're still providing assistance with FAFSA completion, college applications. We're collecting resources on all the campuses, and we're going to be sharing those with students in those advising appointments. And we're still doing text reminders of key tasks that the kids need to complete this summer. Also, when your child gets to campus in the fall, we'll be doing certain institutions. We'll be actually coming there in person and do some check-ins. We will provide a campus point of contact at all the university system, all the public colleges, and the top 15 private and out-of-state colleges that our kids will be attending next year. We will have a Gear Up Student Ambassador position. That person will be starting Gear Up clubs on the campus. They have to have a certain number of kids there. That's based on the institution. So, we'll be doing that as we're able to do it. Still do parent and student workshops. We'll still do advising appointments. Still have the access to tutor.com, virtual mentor, FAFSA completion, collection and referral of on-campus resources. Our goal is to make sure that by the time Gear Up leaves at the end of their first year, they're already in that campus community, that they already know where all the resources are, that they're already advocating for themselves, and that they are on top of their game, and that they're ready to complete that first year and carry on to the second year as well. So that is our goal for Gear Up Georgia. And so we want to make sure that we have all of that information available to you. So first, want to make sure that there aren't any questions for us or for Mr. Jones with regards to the upcoming sessions, the support that Gear Up Georgia will be providing, any of that. I can't see the chat, so let me take a look at it. Okay, great. Well, if there aren't any other questions, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate your time. We know that there's so much more you could have been doing. We hope to see you all at the upcoming sessions that we have. And again, we will be recording these sessions on our YouTube page as well as any of the other workshops that we're doing. And I hope that you register and hope you'll be able to attend. Mr. Jones, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to thank you and the Gear Up Georgia team for allowing me to come on. I'm very excited about this series. This is a very impactful series that we've been able to put together for parents of these college-bound students. And I'm hoping, parents, that you get a chance to attend, all of these sessions to get your questions answered. This is all about you. This is for the parents. And so if there's information that you need, resources that you need, we want to make sure that we can provide as much of it to you as possible. So I just want to thank you, Ms. Cooper, and I can't wait to see you again next week.
Thank you so much. You all have a great evening, and thank you, Mr. Jones, for a great presentation. We're looking forward to the rest of them. Take care, everyone.
Ms. Cooper, I do have a question.
Sure, absolutely.
First, thank you all for this wonderful workshop. It was very informative. My question is there a list of the out-of-state colleges that you are supported virtually, or I may have written it wrong, but the virtual support out of state?
Sure. So right now that we have not compiled, the survey has been out for a while. As you know, we have not gotten the responses that we would like. So we have not developed that list yet. It will be based on a certain number of survey responses that we get from students. So we will, at a certain point this summer, we will be pulling the report and we will get that top list of 15. Now that's only as far as the point of contact on the campus. We are going to be supporting our Gear Up students virtually wherever they go. If they decide to go to college in London, we're still going to be available to set up a Teams meeting and have a virtual advising appointment with them, and they will still have access to all of our virtual resources.
Okay.
So that will be wherever they go. The limitation will be the actual face-to-face support that they'll be able to receive. So if they attend one of the top 15 private out-of-state colleges as far as where our kids are going, not any lists, that's located anywhere, but it would be based on where our Gear Up Georgia students are going. We will have a point of contact on that campus for them. If they attend any of the USG or TCSG campuses, we will have a Gear Up point of contact on that campus. And then there are a few institutions that we will actually be traveling to attend. Gear Up staff will be attending, doing check-ins at those institutions. But again, that will be dependent on the Gear Up survey. That's why it's so important that the students complete the survey so that we can have a better idea of where they're going and we can start setting up that support. But that's
Okay. Thank you so much. That was
You're
helpful.
welcome. You are welcome. Any other questions? All right. Well, you all have a great evening. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you at an upcoming session. And if you have not already done so, if you wouldn't mind dropping your child's name, where they graduated from, and where they're heading to college next year. As you can see, we are really wanting to get that information so we can compile those lists as well and encourage your child to complete that survey. Thank you, Ms. Miller.
All right. Thank y'all so much for your help.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. You too. Good night.
Good night. Mr. Campbell, did you have a question for myself or Mr. Jones? Okay, looks like he's jumping off. All right, Mr. Jones, thank you so much. That was excellent. Absolutely excellent. Let me stop recording here for the YouTube feed.